Hi, how are you? My name is Jonathan Caffrey. I'm a tour guide with Viking Splash Tours, and I was sent a brief that you're looking for Board Show Ireland. So I thought I'd send in this tape just to give you kind of an overview of who I am and what I'm about. I originally from County Meath, trained to be an actor. Didn't quite work out for me. Wasn't very successful. So I went into the tourism trade because I like working with people and I enjoy performance. So I started working as a tour guide. So for the last 3 or 4 years, I've been working as a tour guide in different kind of different departments of, let's say, tourism. So I worked in the whiskey part of the tourism trade in the Irish Whiskey Museum for about 3 years. And then since then, I've been working with Viking Splash Tours. I also worked with the Aviva Stadium as well as a tour guide. Um, I've been working with Viking Splash for about 2 years. It's a very interesting job. The way I would describe it is that you're standing literally on a stage that goes through the city at 30 miles an hour. So it's a very interesting job because you're battling all kind of elements. You're battling traffic, weather, and also the group that you might actually have. It's a very enjoyable job. It's very hardworking, but it's quite rewarding as a performer. So yeah, that's pretty much me. I'm 40 years of age. I'm not in my mid-20s, unfortunately. I wish I was. But to finish off this little tape, what I'd like to do is tell you a story. That's what tour guides meant to do. So I'm going to tell you a story called The Great Whiskey Fire of Dublin. It happened in 1875. Now, all over Dublin back then, in 1875, we had these bonded warehouses. This is where we matured our whiskey for a period of 3 years and 1 day. For every year the whiskey matures, 2% evaporates into the air. We call this the angel share. This is for sharing the whiskey with the angels themselves. A man decides to light a pipe next to a bonded warehouse in the Liberties area in 1875. Not such a clever idea when you've got barrels of flammable liquid essentially evaporating into the air. He lights his pipe, the bonded warehouse explodes. You have a liquid whiskey fire rolling through the streets of Dublin City. The Dublin Fire Brigade had only been around for about 2 years at this point, so what do? They throw some water on this liquid fire. Not very clever. It carries the fire further into the streets. So they come up with a solution. And quick. What mode of transport did they have back then? Horses. What do horses produce? Manure. So they dug piles of manure in the streets to stop the flow of this whiskey fire. Now it stopped the fire. It didn't stop the flow of whiskey. These areas are traditionally working class area. People down there, they couldn't afford to drink whiskey. Yet what do they see rolling down the streets? Free whiskey. They take off their shoes, they get jars, barrels, whatever they can, they fill them up. They drink. They might have had one good night. That's all they got because there's whiskey being poisoned. The streets of Dublin City back then were filthy dirty. Not only that, but the whiskey itself had been filtered through horse manure. So a lot of people died of alcohol poisoning and also salmonella poisoning. There is a lesson to be had in that story, and the lesson is this. Never drink shit whiskey. Especially scotch. Stay away from that stuff. Thanks very much. All the best.